Hello everyone, and welcome to Drink It Brews. It is my pleasure today to bring you coverage of the 2024 Fallen Empires 40 World Championship Finals. This event was held on March 30th at the Shuffler's Den in Willoughby Hills, Ohio. The Shuffler's Den was truly an incredible store and had playsets of things like signed Tanos' coffin and a sealed Netrunner box in the front. If you want to support a store like this, please visit the link to it and the information below the video. Fallen Empires 40 is what it sounds like. You can only use Fallen Empires cards and basic lands, and your deck must have at least 40 cards. It is an old school offshoot format that puts fun before finance, and in my opinion, puts to rest all the complaints many players have had for years about the low power level of the set. My opponent is Mitch. He is playing on the left, using the Mountain playmat with the Arabian Nights art. I am playing on the right with Liz Danforth Hymn to Turek art playmat. Mitch wins the die roll and starts the play with a Dwarven Ruins tapped. It can tap for red or sacrifice and tap for 2 red. On my first turn, I play a Swamp and pass. Mitch's second turn, he sees another mountain and plays a Dwarven Soldier, a 2/1 dwarf for 1 and red, and whenever it's in combat with an orc, it gets +0/+2. On my second turn, I play a mountain and pass. Mitch attacks me with his Dwarven Soldier, bringing me to 18, and he follows it up with a third land and Brassclaw Orcs, a 3/2 for 2 and a red, and it cannot be assigned to block any creature with power greater than 1. Mitch's start of 5 power by turn 3 is unrivaled by other 4 horsemen play outside of Arabian Nights. I try to slow him down with an Armor Thrall, a 1/3 for 2 and a black that can sack to give a creature a +1/+2 counter. Before attacking me, Mitch plays a Goblin Chirurgeon for 1 red mana. It is a 0/2 goblin with an activated ability to sacrifice a goblin to regenerate another creature. He attacks, I block, and he sacks Goblin Chirurgeon to regenerate Dwarven Soldier. After combat, he plays an Aelopile, a 2 mana artifact which for 1 mana can tap and sack to deal 2 damage to any target. On my turn, my red splash comes to haunt me, and my third out of 4 mountains in the deck comes down. I don't have the black mana to play Order of the Ebon Hand, so I play another Armor Thrall. Mitch attacks me with a Brassclaw Orcs alone on his turn, and I double block with my Armor Thralls. Mitch deals all 3 damage to 1 Armor Thrall, and instead of tapping and sacking it to give a counter to the other one, I choose to let them both deal damage. He could have targeted the remaining Armor Thrall with a pile and dealt another damage with the Dwarven Catapult. After combat, Mitch plays an Orcish Veteran, a 2/2 for 2 and a red, which has the same blocking text as Brassclaw Orcs, but can gain first strike for 1 red mana. Things are certainly not going according to plan with my mana base, and on my next turn I play a Thrall Retainer on Armor Thrall. It is an aura that gives +1/+1 and can be sacked to regenerate the creature that it enchants. On Mitch's 6th turn, he plays a third mountain and casts Dwarven Lieutenant, a 1/2 dwarf soldier for 1 and a red that has an activated ability for another 1 and a red to give a dwarf +1/+0. Without Fallen Empires, and this card, and Dwarven Soldier, the 1995 famous deck we know now as Sligh probably wouldn't have existed. Only Ironclaw Orcs existed as an efficient 2 mana cost creature at the time. On my turn, I finally see a second black mana source, but unfortunately is an Ebon Stronghold, which like Dwarven Ruins enters the battlefield tapped and can tap for black or sack and tap for 2 black. I have to pass. Mitch sacks his Dwarven Ruins and casts Dwarven Catapult where X equals 4. Dwarven Catapult deals X damage divided equally among the opponent's creatures. So all 4 damage is dealt to my Armor Thrall. I sack Champion to regenerate it, but now it is tapped and cannot block the oncoming 5 damage. I'm at 10 from Mitch's attack. On my turn, with 5 mana, 2 of it being black, I'm finally able to play my game. I bring a Thrall Champion onto the battlefield. It is a 2/2 Thrall for 4 and a black. It gives all Thrulls +1/+1, including itself, making it a 3/3, and it can tap to gain control of any Thrull, as long as it's on the battlefield. On Mitch's 8th turn, he plays a second Ayla pile, and has to pass, looking at my army of a 2/4 and a 3/3 blocker. On my 8th turn, I play a Thrull Retainer targeting Thrull Champion, making it a 4/4 that can now regenerate, and I follow that up with an Ayla pile of my own. Mitch targets my Thrull Champion with both of his Ayla piles, and to the second I respond with an Armor Thrull activation, making Thrull Champion a 5/6 now. Mitch follows that up with combat, attacking with Orcish Veteran and Dwarven Soldier. I target Veteran with a pile and don't announce any blocks. He pumps his soldier using Dwarven Lieutenant and brings me down to 7 life. I respond with a Dwarven Catapult of my own, clearing his board, and following it up by sacking Evan's Stronghold for an Order of the Ebon Hand. Finally, my Thrull Champion comes in for 5 and brings Mitch down to 15. On his 10th turn, Mitch plays a 5th Mountain and casts Org, a 6/6 Org for 3 and 2 red. It has Trample. It cannot block a creature with power greater than 3, and if an opponent has a creature with power greater than 3 untapped, it cannot attack either. Unfortunately, it probably won't be doing much attacking and blocking this game. On my turn, I attack for 5 with Thrull Champion, bringing Mitch to 10. Not willing to be attacked by the Org, I play a Thrull Retainer on Order, making it a 3/2, and I follow that up with another Ayla pile. Unfortunately, on his 11th turn, Mitch has no plays or effects, and he passes. On my turn, I'm able to attack for 8 with unblockable creatures, and then the Ayla pile deals the final 2, dealing 10 damage to Mitch. I've taken game 1, and we move on to game 2. Mitch starts the game on the play. He plays a Mountain and an Orcish Captain, another staple from the early Sligh days. Orcish Captain is a 1/1 Orc Warrior, and for 1 colorless mana, you can flip a coin. If you win the flip, target Orc gets +2/+0 until end of turn. If you lose the flip, it gets -0/-2. On my first turn, I simply answer with a Swamp. On Mitch's second turn, he plays another Mountain and casts a Goblin Chirurgeon. He attacks with his Orcish Captain, bringing me to 19 and opting not to use its activated ability. On my turn, I play a second Swamp and cast Basil Thrull, a card which I've sided in to have another blocker, and a card which probably has the greatest gulf between its heroic art and its power level. On Mitch's third turn, he plays another Mountain and casts Brassclaw Orcs. He makes no attacks because he can't get through the 1/2 blocker favorably. I play a mountain and an Ayla pile, which unfortunately can't get rid of Mitch's Brassclaw Orcs because of his Goblin Chirurgeon. Still, it can remove it from combat for one turn. And that's exactly what happens on Mitch's turn 4, and after combat he follows with a second Brassclaw Orcs, and has 7 power on the board. On my turn, I play an Evan Stronghold tapped and followed up with a second pile. Mitch is hurting for lands on his 5th turn, stuck at 3, but still he's able to show off the modal capabilities of Dwarven Catapult, using his 3 mana to kill my Basil Thrall, and then he attacks with all 7 of his power. I use Pile on his Brassclaw, and I take 4 damage, going to 15. On my 5th turn, I play another mountain, sack Evan's Stronghold, and generate 6 mana to play Thrall Champion and immediately cast Thrall Retainer targeting it, hoping that a 4/4 blocker can slow the tide against this massive amount of power Mitch has assembled. Unfortunately, on his turn 6, he plays Goblin War Drums, giving each of his creatures menace and being able to attack me for 4 and bringing me to 11. From this point on, 3 things affected me psychologically for the rest of the match. The Goblin War Drums, the fact that Goblin Grenade could deal 5 damage to me at any time, and the fact that it seemed like Mitch always had a full grip of cards in his hand. He was a great player and used his resources so perfectly throughout the match. On my 6th turn, I play an Ebon Stronghold and an Armor Thrall, which is now a 2/4 blocker. On Mitch's 7th turn, he plays a Goblin Chirurgeon before attacking with Brassclaw Orcs and Orcish Captain. I double block Brassclaw Orcs with my 2 Thralls and take 1 damage, going to 10. He follows up combat with a 2 mana Dwarven Soldier. I find it interesting on this turn that he didn't use Goblin Chirurgeon to regenerate his Brassclaw Orcs, and so again, from this point on, I'm worried about Goblin Grenade. On my 7th turn, I play a Swamp, and the Dwarves strike again with a Catapult for 6, enough damage to destroy each of Mitch's creatures. He regenerates his Dwarven Soldier with a Goblin Chirurgeon, but now he's tapped out. I attack for 6, hoping that my creatures can win the race against his 2 power. Immediately, the 2 power that I thought I was racing against becomes more. Mitch plays a Dwarven Lieutenant and has an extra creature on the board, and that creature can pump his Dwarven Soldier that he has. He attacks me with the Dwarven Soldier, pumping it up to 3 power and bringing me to 7. On my turn, most unfortunately, I just have to untap and pass, leaving behind 2 blockers to deal with one of his creatures. On his 9th turn, Mitch plays an Ayla pile and opts not to send his dwarves into combat against my massive Thrall blockers. I play a mountain and cast an Armor Thrall. Now I have 3 creatures and can leave 2 behind a block while I attack with Champion, bringing Mitch down to 10. At the end of my turn, Mitch targets me with his Ayla pile and brings me to 5 life. meaning that a Goblin Grenade and Goblin Chirurgeon together could kill me. Mitch plays yet another pile on his 10th turn, and then passes, opting not to go into the red zone once again. I untap and perhaps unwisely pass my turn without attacking with a Thrall champion once again. At the end of my turn, Mitch sends another pile my way, bringing me to 3. He follows that up with another untap and pass. On my turn, I target Armored Thrall with a Thrall Retainer, bringing it up to a 3/5. And once again, I miss an attack. This is hard to go back and watch. I should have dealt him more damage throughout this game. On Mitch's 12th turn, he finally sees the 5th mountain he needs to play an Org, making combat more difficult for me. I play yet another Armor Thrall, a 2/4 blocker, and now have 4 creatures to deal with his 2 dwarves that can attack, while his Org has to watch, as I have a 3-power creature untapped. Unfortunately though, it all amounts to nothing, and my missed attacks may have cost me the game. We untap and pass a few more turns, and I play another Thrall Retainer on my Thrall champion, making him a 5/5, before on turn 15, Mitch plays the Goblin Chirurgeon that he's been waiting for ever since my Dwarven Catapult, and sacks it as an additional cost to cast Goblin Grenade, which for 1 red mana, and sacking a Goblin, deals 5 damage to any target. He targets me, bringing me to 0. It's been an epic battle, as any championship finals should be, and now we're off to Game 3 to see who will be crowned the Fallen Empires 40 champion of 2024. I think one of the main reasons that I'm so rattled during Game 2 is that I've never seen a deck like Mitch's before, and I'm impressed by the creativity that showed up at the Fallen Empires 40 World Championship that we weren't used to seeing in the online webcam leagues. After I play a tapped Ebon Stronghold on my first turn, Mitch plays a mountain and starts off Game 3 like he did Game 2, an Orcish Captain. I follow up with another source of mana and an Ayla pile. Mitch plays another mountain and attacks me for 1, bringing me to 19, before playing an Ayla pile of his own. I'm at least happy not to see a Dwarven Soldier on his second turn. One of the decks that I expected to see the whole event was Mono White Soldier aggro, and so my deck performed perfectly accordingly on turn 3. I play a Swamp, an Order of the Ebon Hand, and a Thrall Retainer targeting the Order. On Mitch's third turn, he piles the Order, and I immediately regenerate it with Thrall Retainer, which taps it and removes it from being able to block the Orcish Captain coming in. And then Mitch did something that I could never bring myself to do. He targets the Orcish Captain with itself, flipping a coin by rolling a dice and bringing the Orcish Captain to 3 power and my life total to 16. On my fourth turn, I play another Swamp and another pile, not wanting to leave it to chance and a coin flip to kill that Orcish Captain. Yet again, Mitch is hurting for lands, and yet again, he shows the power and flexibility of Dwarven Catapult, casting it where X equals 1 to kill my Order of the Ebon Hand. I do use my pile to kill his captain so I don't take any damage this turn. I play a Swamp and pass my 5th turn, regretting that I haven't seen a Thrall champion yet, but at least I can be content that Mitch doesn't have much power or pressure coming my way. Mitch sees another turn without a land drop and casts a Goblin Chirurgeon, which still can't attack me for any damage, but is eligible to be sacrificed to Goblin Grenade. I play a mountain and pass my 6th turn, still with no creature on the board, and finally on his 6th turn, Mitch sees a land. Unfortunately, it enters the battlefield tapped, a Dwarven Ruins. He follows that up by paying 2 mana for a Dwarven Soldier, and is back in the red zone. For all the land drops that Mitch has been missing, I certainly make up for it and play a swamp and pass my 7th turn. Mitch attacks me with his Dwarven Soldier for 2. I target it with Pile. He regenerates Soldier with his Goblin Chirurgeon, but regenerating removes it from combat. He follows up combat with a Brassclaw Orcs. On my turn, I draw and play a mountain, before gently admonishing my deck that it's provided me enough lands and can send some action my way at any point. Mitch attacks for 5, and I hem and haw a little bit. Perhaps I should have said I take the 5 and shown a little emotional grandstanding. As it is, I think, and perhaps it can be a tell, that I have a catapult in my hand. Mitch doesn't see it though, and he plays a Brassclaw Orcs in his post-combat main phase. I'm able to end his turn with my catapult where X equals 6, wiping his side of the board. I follow that up with a Thrall champion, immediately targeting it with Thrall Retainer, and now I have a 4/4 attacker or blocker on the battlefield, while Mitch has nothing. All those turns of Mitch not having adequate mana means that his hand is full of action though. He plays a Brassclaw Orcs, and I have to play a Basil Thrall on my turn before being able to attack him for 4 and bringing him to 16. Mitch plays a Dwarven Hold tapped on his turn. He can choose not to untap it during his untap phase and put a storage counter on it instead. Eventually, he can tap it and remove X storage counters from it to add an amount of red mana equal to the number of storage counters that he removed. And here's this guy again. He plays a Goblin War Drums, making a fool out of my Basil Thrall and attacking me for 3, bringing me to 8. Fortunately, on my turn, I'm still able to attack with my Thrall champion, bringing Mitch to 12, because I have an Armor Thrall post-combat to stay back and block with the Basil Thrall. Mitch chooses to put a storage counter on Dwarven Hold instead of untapping it. He sacks Dwarven Ruins for 2 red mana, and taps 2 mountains to play 2 Dwarven Lieutenants. Between these and Goblin War Drums, my life total is definitely in danger. Mercifully, on my turn, I draw another creature, so I'm able to attack Mitch for 6, bringing him to 6, before playing an Armor Thrall post-combat. On his 12th turn, Mitch untaps Dwarven Hold, plays a mountain, and uses his storage counter and 3 mountains to play 2 Ayla Piles. He chooses not to send any creatures into the red zone, since I have 2 2/4 blocking Armor Thralls. On my turn, I realize that I'm able to attack for lethal, while still holding back 2 blockers and having 1 life point too many for Mitch to kill me with his 2 Ayla Piles, 3 attackers, and 1 pump activation from Dwarven Lieutenant. When I attack, Mitch has to block with his 2 lieutenants, knowing that they can't come in and beat me on the following turn. Mitch adds a counter to his Dwarven hold and pays 2 mana for a Dwarven soldier on his turn. On my turn, I approve that it truly is better to be lucky than to be good. I draw a Dwarven Catapult, play a mountain, and use all my available mana to cast Dwarven Catapult where X equals 8, dealing 4 damage to each of Mitch's creatures and coming in for lethal. Mitch provides me a firm, mighty handshake and congratulates me as the champion of Fallen Empires 40 of 2024. He was a great opponent. It was a great, great event. I was really happy to be there, and I'm so proud to have come back home the champ.